Aaron was in a canoe paddling over there, and he says to me that could be one of our friends over there. I think it's odd because we haven't publicly announced anything about a person in the water.
So if only 4 people knew that there was a body back there in the cove, how in the world did anybody else know that?
I don't know how they knew that.
Creep It Real is a weekly podcast where we present our theories of the subjects we cover based on our interest and research. Some material may be graphic and disturbing, so proceed with caution.
Hey everybody, we're here.
They're here.
It's Ashley and Shy.
It me.
Yeah. Okay, so last episode we talked about Lauren Agee. We talked about her friends that she went camping with and how her body ended up being discovered floating in a cove. So all the quote-unquote friends that she was with, they had stories that were changing constantly from the beginning. There's just a lot of suspicious stuff going on, and the police said it was accidental drowning because she was drunk, fell off a cliff, and ended up in the water. La-di-da, case closed. Okay.
No.
From the beginning, Lauren's mom said that the clothes that she was found in, those were not her clothes. And obviously, those are not the clothes she was wearing the night before when she was seen by multiple different people and on camera even at the Fish Lips bar. So somebody either changed her clothing or she changed her own clothing to go to bed. You know, that could have been her going to sleep clothes but the bra strap was very twisted. I mean, which depends on whether that really matters or not. I know that the PI and somebody else were like, oh, that I would never have a twisted bra strap. But I had a twisted sports bra strap for an entire day yesterday and didn't even realize it. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's different when it's a regular bra.
I put my underwear on inside out all the time on accident. I do. And I'm like, what is happening?
I've done that many times myself. I also put my pants on backwards. I mean, inside out. I put a pair of pants on inside out the other day, wore them
all day.
Peter goes, are your pants inside out?
Maybe. So I think they were also mentioning too that it looked like the bra hooks were hastily fastened.
Oh yeah.
Only one hook was hooked in, and there was 3 hooks to it.
3 hooks.
So
that is suspicious.
That is because when you're a woman, you want those hooks, or there's no point in wearing the bra.
Right. If you have hooks on your bra, you need them.
You're gonna hook them.
If you had 2, maybe that would be understandable. 1, no way, man. That would be a really uncomfortable section of your bra right there, right in your back. So whether it's because someone hastily put it on or when she died, someone was hastily trying to take it off, I don't know. Because, what if she died because somebody was trying to take her clothes off and hit her over the head with a rock and she died? So I don't know. I just really don't know. Did someone put those clothes on her or did someone try to take those clothes off of her and then she died?
Yeah.
Good question. Okay. So obviously everybody but the police found it questionable and suspicious that the friends hadn't notified anyone of her not being around anymore. And then, when they start to say now, way after the fact, or even that day, well, maybe she fell off when she went pee. We thought maybe she fell, little things like that. It's obviously y'all don't have your story straight because first of all, if you thought at any moment that maybe she fell off the cliff.
Why wouldn't you say something?
Yeah.
That's hello. Yeah.
And then magically she had hit her head when she jumped also, so that adds to it. It's y'all did not act worried about this in any way whatsoever. And while I will say, these people seem like douchebags. I mean, I'm sorry, but they seem
true.
Grade A douchebags. And they may not care about people enough to really worry about somebody if they think that they just went off with other people. But it does not... The facts of that story would still have to line up in the sense that she would have left and you might have seen her leave. It wouldn't have been in the middle of the night. Maybe you would have seen the people she was with. You would have woken up to hear something. There are multiple things that were not going on here that definitely make their story suspicious. So I don't think they're just douchebags. I think they are douchebags that did something kind of
sketchy,
insidious, I guess. You know,
Yeah,
sketchy for sure. Because anyway, we'll get into more of this speculation, but anyway, okay. So yeah, I think we did talk about this, but we'll just discuss it again. That Lauren's mother had been contacted by one of the officers that was the initial officer responding on the scene. This case was not in their
jurisdiction.
Yeah. And he stated that he does suspect that foul play went on here, and then he gave her full details of the odd behavior that these three people, Chris, Aaron, and Hannah, all exhibited during the time that he had interactions with them after this whole body discovery happened, and they came upon it suddenly. Like, oh my goodness, we just happened to stumble upon this.
Well, let's not forget their weird murmurings on the way back to the docks or whatever, like the marina, I guess.
Yeah. No, yeah, that stuff, all the whispering and the let me take care of the story and all that BS. Like, I mean, I don't know how the police didn't take that from other police officers that they just didn't work with. It wasn't like these guys were it wasn't just some little security bumpkin.
Some like small town cop. You know, like the worst violation he's seen is somebody drew boobs in a library book or something. I don't know.
No, they were legit officers, like a sheriff and an officer. It's just really weird to me that they just totally disregarded everything they were saying. She was obviously upset by everything, including the fact that her daughter's death is so suspicious. So at some point, Hannah changes her story. It was actually in the beginning. She had told Fox 17 that regarding Lawrence's disappearance, she was not as concerned as everybody expected her to be, because she was told by somebody that Lauren went back to the marina bar and might have slept on a houseboat, and like we were talking about, in the middle of the night. Really? Like, why? How and why would that have happened? Who would have picked her up, not having a phone? How would she have arranged it? How would she have seen anything in the middle of the night? You know, how did all these other people not wake up? Like, it's just totally unreasonable. It doesn't make sense.
I agree.
So everybody is really concerned about this stuff. Cassie Franks, Aaron's ex-girlfriend, said that she was disturbed by the circumstances. She attempted to voice her concerns and Aaron's history to the authorities. They didn't really care, and she said she told them about his violent history and even provided them photos of her injuries, which he was arrested for domestic violence for biting, choking, and pushing her down the stairs during an altercation. So there was actually a proof of this. All of her friends and coworkers at the time were able to corroborate with these stories. But again, I guess they just didn't seem to care to try and link Lauren's death to anything other than drunken, accidental tomfoolery, I guess.
Which sucks.
Yeah, it definitely sucks. Cassie also said that at prior points in their relationship that Aaron had run off to Florida to avoid getting in trouble with the law on multiple other occasions, which I find to be suspicious considering that he moved to Florida with Hannah a week after Lauren's death. You know, when people exhibit patterns in behavior, and that is one right there, that he runs to a state where his mom lives, by the way. That's why he goes there whenever he's trying to avoid getting in trouble with the law. And a week after a suspicious death of somebody he was in the company of, he moves to Florida.
Right.
Interesting. So Sherry, Lauren's mother, hired a private investigator, Sheila Wachowski, and she actually went to Florida to speak to Hannah. And while she was there to speak with Hannah and interview her, one of the other people who was there at the campsite that night, Brix here we go. This is one of those names. I'm like, is this a real name or is this a Monopoly?
Like, who was it? Officer Moonbeam.
Oh, yeah, Officer Moonbeam.
I love that.
Brix Gambrel was also there that night at the campsite, and he was at Aaron and Hannah's home when Sheila got there to speak with Hannah. He called Aaron right away and was talking with him pretty much constantly throughout the interview. Sheila had to get permission from Hannah to record their conversation, which she did, and in that recording, you can hear that her phone continues to go off because Aaron is calling and texting her throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
He actually called her at some point, and Sheila heard, and I don't know if they have the recording of this or not, but Sheila heard him say, "Shut up and stick to the story," to Hannah, and loud enough that she heard him, which I find to be very interesting. I mean, it's crazy, though, because obviously it's worked to continue to say that one thing.
Yeah.
Because that's the same thing he was saying on the boat, and now he's saying it, to his wife on the phone. And, we haven't gotten any further with this case, so it seems like their little plan has worked thus far. So, she, in her story, though, to Sheila, states that Lauren went to pee in the middle of the night and fell. That's her news story, which is really puzzling because, like, how would she even know that when she's in the side of a tent and Hannah is supposedly in a hammock with Chris?
Yeah.
You wouldn't wake up because somebody in a hammock got up to go to the bathroom. If you're inside of a tent, that's just doesn't even make sense.
Like, did she wake up to change her clothes too? Because she wasn't in, for one, her own clothes, and for two, the same clothes that she was wearing the night before. So,
well, I can understand if she changed her clothes to go to sleep. I don't.
Yeah, but if you're that intoxicated, do you change your clothes or do you just like to pass out?
And especially, do you change your clothes to be still wearing a bra and stuff
right.
like that? You know, like, because that would be the first thing to go.
Yeah.
If you're asking me. So, yeah, you're right. I don't know. Either you're telling me that Lauren was in your tent with you and you heard her get up, or you are just now changing your story to something that you have no idea about.
Right.
And why would that have been the case and then you didn't report anything?
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. They told like 2 people. So Aaron got home really early. Sheila had been surveilling them, and so she knew about how long it took to get home from his work, when he got home typically, and he got home super, super early, and he got home really quickly as well, apparently, according to her. So he was ready to cut this interview off, and the minute he got home, he did. He told Hannah to stop talking to her, and she had to leave.
So weird.
Yeah, he doesn't want, it's just really suspicious. I mean, I understand that. I don't know. I understand about like just shut your mouth.
Yeah.
I do get it, but because like you can get yourself in trouble. It's just kind of like when police are interrogating somebody, they can make you
say things
that incriminate you, even if you have nothing to do with it. So I can understand not wanting something like that to happen in this situation, but it doesn't seem like that's what he's necessarily so concerned about. I think he's more concerned about
somebody slipping,
everybody realizing he might have killed this girl and covered it up on top of that. I wonder what the law is about that. If somebody accidentally dies and you are freaked out and cover it up, I wonder what the law is on that.
I feel like it's withholding information, especially if there's a criminal investigation going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
But we'd have to look more into that. But I mean,
it doesn't seem like it would make, at this point, if that was all it was, I would feel like you would have admitted it by now.
Especially like, I mean, just because we're more emotional most of the time, but like, especially if one of your girlfriends wasn't involved but knew what actually happened,
Yeah, I mean,
but that means you would have to actually care about that person.
Yeah, and I really don't know if they did or not, really, when it comes down to it. It doesn't seem like they did. So here we are, just going to talk about it again, and then maybe this is the last time we talk about this tampon. So when they asked why there was not a rape kit performed on Lauren, which in the state of Tennessee, the police have to order a rape kit, so it doesn't just happen automatically, even though in these cases you would think it would, but they have to order it. It wasn't ordered, and they asked why. The police stated to Sheila Wykowski and the family that Lauren was wearing a tampon at the time of her death, and therefore she could not have been raped. Which we were like, OMG right now.
Which is like just BS. That's not going to stop someone that really wants to do what they want to do.
Right. That is absolutely the most irrelevant thing in the world. But what in the heck is going on with this tampon thing? What?
Yeah. Like,
even if I mentioned this in the last episode, I want to talk about it again because it's that weird.
Stupid.
Because this is later disputed when the private investigator sends the autopsy information to a gynecologist who reviewed the samples from Lauren's uterine lining and reported that Lauren was not on her period at the time of her death. So that's why I am like, what is happening here with this tampon? Okay?
Yeah, because again, like I've mentioned, if you're not on your period, like, it is the most uncomfortable thing. Like, you're not going to do that just to do that.
On top of the fact that you're getting in and out of water, which, I mean, that is not a comfortable situation,
Yeah.
So regardless, that just really doesn't make a lot of sense why she would have put a tampon in if she wasn't on her period. Who put that tampon in? Was there even really a tampon in, or was that just the police making excuses?
That's kind of what I was thinking too, which would just be like really just awful if they just made that up so that they could excuse the fact that they didn't perform a rape kit.
Really? But you know what?
So
maybe they did, because that does sound like a good old boy answer to that kind of question.
Oh, she was on her
Couldn't have been raped.
She was on her period.
She's
like,
on her
okay.
It's not funny, but it's that ridiculous that I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Clearly that doesn't make any difference. But I would like to know if there really was one, because, if there was one there, that would mean that somebody had to have put it there or something.
The only thing I can think of why there would be is maybe she was expecting her period to start, so she was just taking precaution. But again, I've never done that. Like, once it starts, it starts.
Yeah, and also, I know every woman's different, but I doubt the moment it starts, the floodgates have opened. I'm sure there's like a little grace period, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know everyone's periods, but I just don't think that was probably what was going on. Like, I think also that the doctor would have said that she was a day away from starting her period.
Yeah.
Either way, if someone else put it there, I just don't see it. I think that probably is honestly a matter of police trying to cover up their
shoddy work.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting too is like, I don't know if they really even like blocked off the whole cliff area to be an investigative crime scene, because they were saying anybody and everybody could walk up there.
Yeah.
And there were people going in and out, so they were just contaminating the entire crime scene.
Well, yeah.
And probably stomping around evidence that could have been useful.
Oh, for sure.
Good on them.
Yeah, they really didn't seem to treat it like a crime scene. It was more of,
no,
oh, she had an accident. I saw somewhere someone said, or maybe I don't know. I feel like I heard this somewhere, or someone said it, but they were like, if she did fall off of this cliff somewhere accidentally while she was peeing or whatever in the middle of the night, wouldn't you want to maybe try to identify the spot where it happened? Perhaps you would be able to. Yeah. I mean, maybe there would be blood. Maybe there would be some like sort of disruption. As we have talked about, it's unlikely that she was gonna fall into the water, period. So where did she fall, and how then did she end up getting into the water from that point? It just is so mind-boggling that they didn't really care to try to find any of this stuff out.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Besides the fact that her body didn't have a lot of debris on it for it to indicate that she fell like that to begin with.
Well, there was like some discrepancies too, like regarding her body floating, and there was water in the lungs, but it wasn't, I don't think that was the amount to where someone would be like, yeah, this is definitely drowning,
Yeah. I mean, there is such a thing as dry drowning.
Right, but that's more indicative to older people and babies, correct?
Yes, people in poor health, and like we talked about, she was healthy, active, former lifeguard.
Yeah.
Like, I think she knew her way around water.
Definitely. And so I don't know if you want to talk about it, but is the whole floating thing like pertinent to it? Because I feel like people are trying to say she wouldn't have been floating, while some people say, yeah, she definitely would have, or like the way she was floating wasn't correct. I don't know.
I really don't know, to be honest. I know about floating as far as where she floated, but not as far as why or if she should be floating, I know there's, like you said, that when we were talking about it, that gases release.
Right.
That could, but I don't think in that amount of time.
Well, and it really depends on the temperature of the water too. So like the warmer the water, the faster the gases are going to release and the quicker the body will float. But
okay,
I don't think they're going to float to where their hind end and their legs are going to be up in the water. And I'm pretty sure they were saying that like they spotted pink shorts, like bright pink shorts. So that would mean that her butt or her lower extremity was floating above the water line.
Well, have you seen the pictures of it?
No.
They did release them.
They did?
Yeah, her floating in the water, and she is just floating face down in the water. You can see her shirt and her bra straps and her shorts. And you can see her skin too, and I think, I guess we'll just talk about it again, another again, that her skin does not look like she's been in the water for 14 hours or 10 hours or whatever the amount of time that they're trying to claim that she was at all. That's a long time. I mean, but it's closer to like 12 to 14 if their little story would have been even remotely true. I'm thinking maybe they went over when they were up so early, when they were spotted on the dock, maybe they went and took her body somewhere at that point. So by the time she was found, well, I don't even know, man. I don't know, because that would still be a long time, because that was 7 a.m. and they found her at 4 p.m.
And I don't know anything about the water. Is it fresh water or salt water?
Oh, it's fresh water.
Oh, okay. Well, even so, 10 hours in the water, you're going to be pretty waterlogged.
Yeah.
And
pretty pruny.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, you're dead too, so there's also all the other aspects of that to take into consideration after 10 to 12 hours.
Right.
I don't know if she had been through rigor mortis or not.
Well,
it doesn't look like it in the photos.
Well, they say too, like the more fat you have, the more buoyant you are. So her being an active individual, we guess she's pretty lean, you know. And
well, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah. In the process, your body is gonna sink. So she somehow fell off, ended up in the water, sank to the bottom, and then ended up in a weird alcove where like nobody would have guessed to go for anything.
Right.
And they say that unless there's like a really rapid, strong current, the body's not going to travel that far,
right,
especially if it's on the bottom. So,
and if she had fallen off of the cliff, there's the 90-foot side, there's the 45-foot side. Yeah. So the 90-foot side is the one where you jump off to get in the water to go do stuff for Wakefest and whatnot. And, you know, it could be precarious if you jump incorrectly or get pushed off or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you actually purposefully jump like she had done previously in the night, you could make it into the water and not hit anything. But then if she would have jumped off that side, her body would have floated in the opposite direction of the current as they tried to determine for that day, which the current that day would have taken her to the marina and not the cove where she was found. And so she would have her body would have essentially had to kind of make a U-turn to go around the cliffside to this other spot, kind of against current. And if she would have fallen from the 45-foot side, she wouldn't have landed in the water. It's almost, as far as the tests of trying to get a dummy to do this, it seems like almost impossible,
right,
to land into the water from jumping off the 45-foot side. So she would have hit a whole bunch of stuff and wouldn't have ended up in the water in the first place.
Didn't they try to throw the dummy as hard as they could, hucking it as hard as they could to try to get it to hit the water, and it just was not happening?
Mm-hmm.
So
they tried 50 times or something.
Yeah,
they tried over and over.
So it wasn't happening.
Yeah, I just don't think it is. So there was, in the autopsy, there was this kind of mark on her chest. Okay, so I think we've talked about lividity on the podcast before, but when a person dies and they're laying in a certain position, blood begins to collect at the lowest points, but there was lividity on her chest in the shape of a triangle. So that means that she would have had to been pressed up against this thing for a significant amount of time after her death for it to be present on her skin. And they've been trying to... Oh my god, I just dropped everything.
Get your life together, Ashley.
I know.
Just kidding. I love you.
I know you are. They've been trying to figure out what made that mark, and Officer Yarchuk suggested that Aaron and Chris had on their canoe, they had the tip of the canoe was this exact same shape that is on Lauren's chest, which would have had to have gotten there after she died again. The officers that came to retrieve the body and transport it, they claim they laid her on something inside of their boat that created this on her chest. I find that to be a little strange, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've never seen a body be transported face down like that regardless. I don't know.
Well, and I'm thinking, okay, so maybe she was swimming and they hit her with the canoe on accident, but that would mean your chest would have to be, you'd have to be dolphin swimming.
Yeah, she would be like Superman flying through the lake.
So I just...
No way.
Yeah, I don't see it being that.
What Yarchuk says is that, or what he posits, I guess, because he's not sure, he's not 100% sure about this, but this is what he thinks happened, is that her body was on the shore of this side of this cliff, perhaps. Whether she fell off herself or they pushed it down, carried it down, whatever happened. And the easiest way to now move 130 pounds of a limp body,
human body, which dead weight is 10 times heavier than someone who's not.
Yeah, and she has all her limbs and everything hanging.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had the canoe up to the shore, they dragged her body face down onto the boat, okay? They pulled it so far so that it wasn't tipping the boat over, because that's the one thing I do wonder is how is a boat going to balance? So he says that her arms and her chest were over inside the boat. This triangle mark was at her sternum.
Yeah.
And then her legs were just hanging off the boat, dragging in the water. That's what Officer Yarchuk is positing about the situation. Whether that's true, I don't know. But that would be, in his opinion, how that mark from their boat got on her chest like that. I mean,
I can see that if they didn't want to, like, be in the boat with a dead body, if it made them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it kind of seems like a huge to-do.
I just wonder how balanced would have been if her body was halfway off the boat like that, you know?
Right. Canoes are kind of hard to man, right?
I mean, I don't know. I guess it just depends on the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, you know, get some dogs in a canoe and stuff. So I guess they can kind of withhold some imbalance, I suppose. But I don't know. It just seems like that would be really difficult. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe if you pushed off with her like that, it would be easy, and then you just let her slip in the water not that far down.
Right.
Not that far away. I don't know. It's possible, I guess, because that would put a lot of pressure on that area, which it does seem kind of like, how would her body have to have been laid on something in order to make that mark but not make anything anywhere else? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just there. So that is kind of weird. Now that I think about it, maybe that did happen because that would put a lot of pressure on that spot.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Especially being dead weight, you're not,
right.
It's going to dig into there and you're not going to stop it.
Resist or anything, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that may be very well what happened,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't think about too thoroughly until just now. So I just have this like, oh, well, you know what? I think I can go with Yarchuk on that one. I think that might make sense. I mean, there are obviously other possibilities that we're not thinking about, but that could be possible for sure. The boat of Chris and Aaron, that was never collected or searched or anything like that. Nothing tested. Nothing was ever done to that boat. It was legit sitting at the dock untouched.
Which is stupid. Hello.
Yeah, you would think. Like
that would if you think it's something that would have like put a mark on someone's chest, how could you not take that in for evidence and search it? Stupid.
They don't though, because that's the thing, is that the local PD claim it was the rescue boat, period. And that's another one of those things where I feel like they're so adamant, like, it was our rescue boat, get over, like, stop making a to-do. Just like the tampon thing, where it's like, we did a shitty job. We didn't think about the fact that we should be testing the boat she may have been on and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, everything was already just answered and explained for before this investigation ever even happened. It's just, she was drunk. So get over it, everybody. The local PD, like I said, they laid her face down on the boat. That seems weird. Possibly,
Yeah.
And how would she had to have been laid down in that boat to be able to have that mark on her chest like that? Plus, at that point, was she going through, were her limbs stiff?
Yeah.
I just don't know, because if you look at the pictures of her when she's found, her arms have to be hanging, her legs have to be hanging. So if she had gone through rigor mortis, then it would have been really difficult to lay her face down on the boat like that, I would think. Plus, the thing that they're talking about, the police that was in their boat that they're saying made the mark, according to Yarchuk, the police department, the thing that they're saying made that mark was a 90-degree angle, and the mark on her chest and on Aaron and Chris's boat was a 45-degree angle. So they don't match regardless. So if that's the case, then what did make that?
Right.
Questions that probably should have been asked by the police, maybe, and not me, but whatever.
That would have been helpful, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I would think so. So the Saturday that Lauren's body was found, Chris posted pictures on Instagram in which he initially stated best weekend ever. Okay, that was, so he supposedly did this before her body was found, so okay.
Still, your friend's missing.
Right.
And I feel like this is the chick that he was supposed to be like hooking up with. Like, they brought her along so he wasn't lonely in the third wheel. So is it the best weekend ever, Chris? Is it?
Right. And he later, after her body was discovered, he later changed it to, which everyone's like, he changed it when he found out she was dead.
Yeah.
But let's listen to this and let's see if we think it's really that much better. Wakefest 2015 went pretty good this year. Met some new friends. That made it awesome. It's like the same song, different note, dude. It's the same thing. Somebody that you legit were hanging out with, who rode on your boat with you to the campsite where you were sleeping, and you took a picture with earlier in, like, a day before.
Yeah.
Was found floating in the freaking lake, dead. And you post, met some new friends, that made it awesome. Like, would you not just not maybe post anything, or be like, if you're gonna post about Wakefest, be like, it was going really great and then something terrible happened.
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
or
what
like
kind of person?
like sad weekend. I don't want to say like it wasn't like weekend ruin, man, but like
Nothing.
not the weekend I was expecting. I don't know. Jeez.
Right. Like, even granted, you're a giant douche, but
Yeah,
I
true.
think that even if you don't really care that this girl, you know, just if you're thinking the mentality is she's just some random girl, you know, it would still be kind of weird.
Yeah.
You would at least think it would be something.
Right.
Like something, some emotion that he didn't really exhibit in any way, which I think you mentioned.
So none of these people went to her funeral. They didn't show up, and their behavior, because it was being monitored, wasn't as if they had just lost a friend. There was like no morose brooding or sadness or anything like that. Like, why would you not go to this girl's funeral?
Yeah, it seems odd. And I feel like every time something like this goes on, like I feel like we always have to preface like, wait, well, I don't want to dictate how you mourn or how you deal with a trauma event, but you didn't seem to
care at all,
even acknowledge it.
Like, send her mom maybe a card or something, or just something. Like,
I mean, even just making a sort of, I don't know, you don't have to make any posts, but
right.
I just don't know. I just think you should have done something. You were there. I mean, good grief. Why would you say anything like that? And why would you not go? I just think your behavior is questionable, you know?
Because you're so guilty.
Yeah, you definitely seem guilty. I mean, and it's like, I get that regardless if you're in that position that you might, you know, you're going to seem suspicious to people even if you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But all the other things that they're doing are only, and everything that happened is only making them look more and more suspicious. It's not like we're just pulling this out of thin air.
Right.
Like, there's all of this stuff. It's insane. The only people that didn't think that the evidence against them was insane were the police. So that's always really positive and
reassuring.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not. So shortly after the incident, a witness came forward. His name was Chris Brown. He had been staying at Center Hill Lake on Wakefest weekend with his wife and children, and he alleged that sometime after midnight on the night in question, he observed a young man swimming toward the dock from the direction of the cove where her body was found. He said the young man appeared in great distress and seemed worn out, claiming he nearly drowned trying to get to the dock. The witness claims that the young man was Aaron Lilly and described a flag swimsuit, which does match the description of the suit that Aaron wore that weekend. Though, I will say, flag swimsuits, come on. I mean, we live in America. Like,
they're pretty common.
Yeah. So it's hard to say that because the flag swimsuit, like, that makes it a credible situation. Because the thing about that is, sometime after midnight, I don't know, unless he's just so unsure about the time, like that he's hours and hours off, this timeline doesn't really match up. Because Yarchuk supposedly, though, saw Lauren on the boat after 2 a.m., 2:33, sometime around that. So unless something happened and they, like, I'm sorry that I'm going to say it again, but they weekend at Bernied Lauren on the canoe back to the campsite, I don't think that this witness actually, I don't really know that they have anything really credible towards this exact case.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It sucks because I'm like, at first I was like, oh my gosh, here it is, you know, the smoking gun. And then, you know, it's a grown man. Like, he has nothing to gain out of coming forward, but I think he's just trying to be helpful, and he may just have seen some drunk kid swimming up to the dock, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
Either way, the police never followed up with him, so, because they don't follow up with anybody, but it would have been probably good just to see. Maybe he was wrong about his time, and like he had gotten, who knows? Maybe you could have just looked into it a little bit, you know?
They literally opened and closed this like in 10 minutes. We're just like, yep, she drowned accidentally.
Yeah, totally. He has seen pictures of Aaron. He claims it's Aaron, but I've seen a lot of blonde dudes looking like that at this Wakefest. I'm sure that he could have confused them. So
yeah,
unfortunately not sure. Okay, so some possible ideas about what happened here. So we're going to start speculating. Now, Lauren perhaps felt threatened. I can definitely see that with these gems of dudes that she was around and the delight of a friend that Hannah was. So maybe somebody was being aggressive or argumentative, and these feelings were fueled by alcohol. Maybe there was jealousy. That's also a possibility that we haven't really discussed too much, because that's definitely possible, considering some of the other things that we have talked about and we'll continue to talk about with Erin. Perhaps there was expectations of her from someone, or someone was sexually assaulting her or was trying to. And then just like how I feel possibly that Magdalena felt.
Oh, yeah.
She felt like her only option was to run away or jump off the cliff in the middle of the night.
She might have not even seen the cliff there. If they were drinking and she was trying to get away and it was dark, like, she could have, I mean, if this is the case, like, ran off of it.
Yeah. I just don't know, though. Part of me, okay, but yeah, so that's possible. And so she couldn't see where she was going. She landed horribly, either died or didn't die, but they thought she did. And they'd go and dump her body in the cove and pretend like she fell in the middle of the night without their knowing. That's possible.
Very possibly.
So, like we talked about, while the PI and Officer Yarchuk have conducted numerous tests trying to throw a dummy off of a cliff, one thing, and this is terribly morbid, but one thing that I was thinking, though, is that if two people were trying to throw a body off a cliff, you could swing a body off a cliff.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah. Especially two dudes, and she wasn't a huge chick,
so that was just one thing. And I know that their test was more to try to see if it was even possible for her on her own to have gotten herself off the cliff, fallen in that way, and gotten in the water on her own, and that was why they were conducting their test. Now, so this is a totally different aspect of the scenario, in which if she was either killed or accidentally killed on the cliff, which I think probably is what happened, then she could have been swung off the cliff, and that would have, because people say, oh, how would they have gotten her body down? It would be way too hard, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, it would be really difficult, but you could still do it. But they might have just swung her off or dragged her down or let her, that's one thing though. They didn't probably drag her down or let her tumble down.
There would have been a lot of like scrapes and scratches and whatnot. So
she didn't have those kinds of energies. Yeah. She didn't have those kind of injuries. So that was probably not it. So she might have been thrown off or carried off.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe she fell drunkenly, like they said, and they freaked out because they had drugs up there. And Chris already had issues with DUIs and running from a scene of a crime. Maybe he didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Same with Erin. I don't know. But to me, I feel like if that really was the case, somebody would have said, it was an accident. It was an accident. We didn't mean for it to happen. What kind of person creates this whole thing about an accident?
Yeah.
Like this whole cover up because they don't want to admit that there was ecstasy up on a mountain or on a cliff. I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
I really don't. To me, the cover up matches the crime.
Yep.
So it's like this big giant cover up because I think something really obviously something crappy happened, but something really awful happened. So she had those two perfectly symmetrical marks on her back, and they weren't perfectly symmetrical, but they were almost perfectly symmetrical. So we talked about how that was very unlikely to be something in nature that did that to her. Now, she had those. She had the bruises on top of her thighs. She had a broken nose. She had marks on her throat, broken fingers. Didn't seem to be in the water for 10 hours. The bruises on her thighs and then on those marks on her back, it makes me wonder...
Is that somebody's knees pushing into her back?
Into her back?
Yeah.
You mean...
like if they were like sitting on top of her?
On her back or on her front?
Both, possibly.
Yeah. See, I was thinking that someone had their knees on her legs and were on top of her in that way, but I don't really know what you would be doing. And then I'm sorry. I just had okay. So, shout out, and like we've talked about, I can't say 100% that I haven't spoken to Sheila Wykowski or anything. And I thought about emailing her, but I didn't. Okay, so she has said and shout out to her, because I have listened to her podcast regarding the case. And so some of my information has definitely come from her. She is the person investigating this when the cops haven't. She stated the bite mark was on Lauren's chest. Okay, so she has a bite mark on her chest.
Okay.
That's all I'd ever heard, was that she possibly had a bite mark. It was never actually, they never actually tested it or anything. And I don't even know if the autopsy says anything about it. Okay. And I haven't seen a picture, but I'm sure if I asked, maybe we could.
I know. I want to see it because it's wouldn't a bite mark make a round, like a rounder?
Well, we haven't seen the picture, so we don't.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, why are they saying triangle?
No, it's not that. It's a separate mark. Like, I've seen the triangle.
Okay.
I have not seen the bite mark. Apparently, the bite mark is only in pictures that they have from autopsy, but it wasn't actually listed in the autopsy. And we haven't seen those. So the triangle has been released photo.
Gotcha.
And
gotcha.
That you've seen. Now, they did enhance it a little to make it darker so that you could actually see it, but it is there, and it's just not as, some of the pictures on the internet don't come out as, so they enhance it just a little bit, but it's there. And that is actually noted in the autopsy. So, okay. So what my just like, scream was because the last time I listened to, not the last time, I don't know, at some point in researching, I heard Sheila Wykowski say that the bite mark was sideways on Lauren's chest. So it's not coming from straight on. So I'm like sitting here and I'm thinking right now, holy crap, dude, I think something really grossly awful might have happened here, because she was being held down and something was going on. I just gave myself goosebumps, honestly, because I'm like, I feel like that just totally, this is what has made sense to me all of a sudden. Like, someone was holding her down in her upper body and her legs and and maybe even somebody else was doing something. I don't know.
So somebody came in from like the side to bite her?
That's what
they were like on top of her and like bent down to like,
I don't know, man.
You guys can't see what I'm doing with my head right now, but you know, like I'm facing you. So imagine I'm on top of you. If I were to come down to bite you, I
don't know. Would you turn your head that side?
But I don't think I would come down to bite you face full on, like frontal. I would probably turn my head.
That extreme, I think it would be a little bit at an angle, but it would still be. Would you legit put your ear to your shoulder? You know, I don't think you would go that extreme, would you?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So did somebody... see, what I was thinking was, when I started thinking about that, was like she was being held down by maybe one or two people, and somebody else came in and like bit her. I don't know.
Weird.
I do think it's weird, but I think that all the evidence in the autopsy that I have been, privy to at this point, that we have seen, definitely points to the fact that somebody was holding her down. That's why she has these marks on her back. Yeah. Why does she have this symmetrical bruising on her back, on her legs? She's got choke marks. She's got a broken nose. I mean, that could have happened from falling. It also could have happened from someone punching her in the face. Or maybe she was pushed from behind initially, that initiated this whole attack or whatever. Like, I'm thinking she was attacked.
Yeah.
She was attacked. Okay, so I wonder if Lauren really knew about the weekend's plans. Like, these are just some things that I wonder now.
Yeah.
Like, if she even knew about these plans, or was it sprung on her at the last minute? Like, I think it probably was.
Well,
based off her...
Let's not forget, too, Erin Lily's comment, what happens up here stays up here or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe there were plans in the works and she just wasn't aware of it. And...
I mean, God, that would just mean that those people were seriously serial killery,
Yeah. Like, this was, like, premeditated.
Yeah, but...
Maybe not the murder, but whatever happened that, led to her being murdered.
Right. Yeah.
Because creeps.
And I mean, to think about, it's weird though, because it's like to think about the fact that she was trying to get somebody to come pick her up, or trying to get somebody to let her stay with them. And they were being so mean. But I mean, maybe that a lot of it, I bet you, just based off of Erin Lily's creepy, crappy comments and stuff, how he was like saying that she was making moves on him, which I'm like, I'm sorry. I highly doubt she was making moves.
She is gorgeous and he is not attractive. I'm sorry. Erin Lily, you're not attractive.
That just makes it seem like he was projecting because she rebuffed his advances. But anyway, if that was the case, Hannah would have been super jealous, and she was already insecure probably about their relationship because they had broken up, and the reason being that he was cheating on her, and he was still in fact cheating on her when she was giving him this second chance at love at this Wakefest situation.
He's the man. He's the slut.
Ugh. Yeah. So of course he is. Boo. Okay. So other theories, perhaps. I'm like, I don't know if I have any more because I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So the case was like closed, and there's like no closure left. You know,
Yeah.
It's just marked up as an accident.
Like we had talked about a minute ago. Why did they not try to figure out where she died, where she entered the water, where she fell? What happened, where, like, I wonder if they even asked the kids where she might have fallen so they could take a look at that spot,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
They didn't search the boat. They didn't search anything. They didn't look for broken branches, like I said, blood, torn clothing. Any of that might have given them some information, but there was nothing. Disturbed ground.
And it was so weird to listen to Aaron Lilly talk about it. Like, he kept referring to her as it.
Yeah.
Not her name,
right.
Not her, just it.
Yeah.
Like her body. They found it. They found,
yeah.
It was so.
Like, that's right.
Creepy to listen to.
You are either a psychopath or you're trying your damnedest to distance yourself from that person.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Police never interviewed the two off-duty officers from White County, Officer Yarchuk and Ryan Mellinson. There we go. There was his name, finally.
And he
discovered the body.
Right. And so what's really crazy is, didn't they say, like, the guy's son was, like, a search and rescue person, too? So, or he was, like, a paramedic.
Oh, yeah.
And so he would have been, like, really good to interview, I think.
Yeah.
And because he's going to be kind of more calm about the situation and not freak out, because he's probably seen a whole lot in his lifetime.
Yeah.
So I think he would have been good at, like, taking in the scene, what the body was doing,
right.
What it looked like, etc. And then, of course, the off-duty cops, because Ryan, right, he was working security for Fish Lips that night. And I guess he was a little popular with the ladies. I guess he was kind of cute. And then I swear, I don't know if this is true, but I think Aaron had said that she was trying to hook up with him too, or like there was talks about she was flirting with him.
Oh, I'm sure.
But who knows? Yeah.
She did talk to him. She talked to him.
She did talk to him.
I think she tried to get a cigarette from one of the officers. Or
Yeah.
She did, actually. And,
Yep.
and I know, like, Yarchuk, I mean, he noticed her, talked to her, observed them. That's the thing that's so crazy, is that they didn't interview those two off-duty cops, and they had interaction with them before and after the incident.
Yeah.
Before she was ever even when she was still alive, and then the next day after her body was found. I mean, it's like they were the very first people to speak to those three people.
Yeah.
To Hannah, Chris, and Aaron. Why in the world would the police not have needed to talk to them? That is crazy. That just shows you they just wanted to go into this with the idea that she was drunk and fell, and that was it. Instead of exploring all of the possibilities, they actually selected specific answers to make their story work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're, instead of like trying to explore where she might have fallen or this and that, they were like, well, she fell. It was probably here. She fell drunk and she's dead now. I mean, it just does not make sense.
Well, it's like the same thing with like Kanika, Oh, she was just drunk walking around.
That's what happens when you get drunk.
Unfortunate accident happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like, and I remember, like, I don't know. It just seems strange to me. Like, I feel like these are kind of, they want to teach people a lesson with these stories, like, don't get drunk and, don't go have fun. And this is what happens when you party, which, I mean, very plausible things can happen and accidents do happen. But do your friends act like this when it happens?
Yeah, no, I would hope not, because they're not really friends then. But when the DeKalb County police were asked about this investigation and how they felt it went, they said during the course of the investigation, this is the lead investigating officer, during the course of the investigation, I talked with friends, family, bystanders, and other law enforcement officers about the case, and I didn't find any evidence of foul play. So what Officer Yarchuk responded to that was, you'd think that would include speaking with the last person known to see Lauren alive, but Evan Shelton said no one ever spoke to him. I am flabbergasted. Lauren left the bar in great spirits, and she was not intoxicated. She was normal Lauren. Would you interview the woman who called 911, the man who spoke with the friends immediately after the body was found? Harry and Dina Elder said no one ever spoke to them. I want to be their voice. So that was what Yarchuk said to all of the comments regarding the investigation. It is kind of it does make you flabbergasted to hear all of the people who were the last people to see Lauren, the first people to discover her body and see the friends, and they're never questioned by police. Like, I know I keep saying this, but like, it is insane. How does that happen?
Yeah.
And how is her family supposed to be okay with that? You know, there were virtually 0 photographs taken of the campsite. None of Lauren's or the others' clothes were collected, and nothing was treated as a crime scene. There were a few photos that were taken, and there's something that is super duper suspicious in the photos between what Officer Yarchuk took when he immediately went up to the site and the photos that the law enforcement took whenever they got to the site. When Yarchuk went up to the campsite, in his photos, so that he was the first one to go up there.
Yeah.
In his photos, Lauren's belongings were set outside of the tent where Hannah and Aaron had been staying. And he said it was exactly as it would be if you were staying in the tent and you took your belongings and left them outside of it before you went inside. In later photos taken by the Mainland Police Department, the DeKalb County Police, the items were moved to the location under Chris's hammock where they were supposedly sharing, and that we probably saw in the photos that law enforcement took, where her stuff is sitting under that hammock.
Yeah.
So Officer Yarchuk contends that at the very beginning of this situation, right after her body was found and he went up to the campsite, her clothes were just outside of the tent where Hannah and Aaron stayed. The one that had 2 air mattresses in it.
Right.
And then they moved them. The 3 moved, or somebody up at that campsite moved her clothing after that. So why in the hell were her clothes outside of that tent if she wasn't staying in that tent? Her shoes and everything. If you're staying in a hammock, you don't take your shoes off in one area and walk to the hammock in your socks and get in it. You know, I think she was staying in that tent. So what does that mean? What does that mean about what happened exactly? I'm not sure, but I don't think she was staying in that hammock like they're trying to say. And if they're trying to say it, why are they trying to say it?
Well, just imagine, like, you're going to go out partying and you have to come back up a rocky cliff to go sleep in a hammock. I'd be like, no way,
Right.
man. That's way too much work. I'm going to pass out, like, not in a hammock.
Especially when your friend has a tent with an extra bed in it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you have to share the hammock with another dude that you don't know.
Bullshit. I don't think that Aaron and Hannah were sleeping in separate beds in that tent. So what's going on here? I have a feeling she was sleeping in that tent and those 2 are creeps. All I know is that. I really can't tell you anything more than that. Yarchuk said he thought it was extremely suspicious that the boys paddled, like I said, we already said this, but that they paddled up claiming that they may have found their friend before anything had been announced in any way about a body being found. And that the other officer, Ryan Mellinson, he gave the following statement. He said, "When we got them to the pontoon boat with us, Aaron told Chris, 'Shut up. I will tell them the story. Do not say anything.' He said, there were red flags everywhere, but the police didn't follow up on it. And they didn't follow up on the bite marks either. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations looked into the case and also decided to close it. And here's something I find interesting about what the DA has to say about this. He later told the family that the only way they'll get the case reopened is with a confession. He said, "There is no crime scene anymore. All the people involved have lawyers and there's nowhere to go in the case." Yeah. He refuses to comment on the substandard initial investigation into Lauren's death. And I don't understand what them having lawyers has anything to do with it. Anybody can have a lawyer. Everybody has lawyers. Are you telling me that getting a lawyer makes you not want to prosecute somebody or investigate a death? How does that make sense? I don't understand.
It doesn't, because it's BS. One of the dogs
right.
farted.
He said, "I am in the business of prosecuting people. There's no reason to reopen a criminal case." I am like baffled by this. Really am.
I know.
It's like, it's too hard. This one's too hard, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm like, okay.
It requires me to work.
Like, I definitely don't want to hear the BS, dude. So the local theory is that Chris was upset that Lauren didn't want to hook up with him, and in a drunken frustration, hit her in the head with a rock and choked her. Then Chris and Aaron moved the body to the water and told Hannah later. I mean, okay, it's possible, but I don't buy it. I just think that the hammock, her sharing a hammock, it's total BS.
Yeah.
Maybe they were supposed to share the bed inside the tent. They were all gonna have some orgy or something, or they that's what they had hoped.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I just the hammock thing is BS. So I don't think that he was like in the hammock trying to make moves. It's just not happening, in my opinion. And with Aaron's history, like we kind of talked about, it seems highly likely that it's possible that he could intimidate and coerce Chris into taking the fall for him, so to speak. I don't know if that's the truth, but it seems like he has done that with people. Like he had done that with Cassie, where it was like, helping me stay out of trouble is helping yourself stay out of trouble type of mentality. So Chris actually met with the family and authorities at one point after Aaron and Hannah moved, and he said that he had 3 DUIs at the time of Lauren's death and that there were drugs at the campsite, and that was his excuse as to why he did not alert the authorities of her disappearance. I'm wondering if he has more to say than that.
Oh, you know he does, because you can't just like throw the drugs away, or clearly you didn't contact the police at all. It's not like they're going to be up there in 2 seconds. You would have had time to like dispose of said drugs, you know. So even
if you wanted to hide them somewhere else, you know, if you're like, I don't want to get rid of them, well then hide them. But you could still, it's not reason to let a missing person go unreported. Yeah. And I think I said this a minute ago, but according to the private investigator, of all the people that she has interviewed that were there at Wakefest that day, there were only 2 people who said that they were even aware that Lauren was missing from the group that she was with, because Hannah said something to them.
Yeah. There was no concern. I mean, if you had nothing to worry about, wouldn't you go down and be like, hey guys, like, have you seen Lauren? She's been missing and we can't find her. We're worried about her. I
would hope that in this situation, you would act a little bit more like a human being than the way that you acted.
Right.
To me, you're almost acting evil.
Yeah.
So the next time that Cassie heard from Aaron, he had moved to Florida. Mm-hmm. And it was a couple months later. He was talking about how much he missed her and he loved her. He called her from his work phone from a blocked number. He was talking about how he wanted to have sex with her and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah. What does he say? Oh, he says like...
Okay, well, I guess he said, I miss your fat ass bouncing up and down on me.
Yeah, so he's a real Prince Charming. He knows... Right. He's a smooth talker.
For sure, smooth talker. Yeah. Knows how to sweet talk for sure. But yeah, moved away with a girl, and you're texting this other chick that you used to date about how you want to have sex with her, and then what? I don't get it. And then you get married to this chick. Why?
Yeah, he marries Hannah.
Yeah. Do you really like Hannah that much? Or are you trying to take advantage of, not having to testify against your spouse? That may be part of it, I feel. To me, that was what I thought when I found out they moved away so quickly and then they got married shortly after. I was like, oh, yeah. Was that a legal maneuver? I think we did talk about this in the previous episode, but Cassie had endured some serious domestic violence with Aaron that police interfered, and she had photo evidence of this, and it happened. So he has a past of being violent. He has a past of being kind of violent in his sexual behavior. And like we have already said, we're not shaming the situation if you're a willing participant, but when you're doing this to somebody that doesn't want it to be happening, or you're taking it beyond a point you have agreed to, it is not okay. And so that seems to be a behavior that he has exhibited in the past. And I wouldn't put it past him for it to happen again, that this might have been going on. Yes.
Clearly he was like mentally abusive too, and like master manipulator, because she felt like she couldn't quit him and felt like he needed her. So even though they were like ordered by the courts to like separate and not be together,
right,
she would still dote on him and like try to be with him, so
right.
Either
she's still
today, she's like, I just don't see him doing it.
Yeah, she still kind of defends him a little bit.
I don't think he's that type of person.
She definitely does give you some details about his personality and who he is that don't paint him in a good light. Yeah. But she still's like, he beat me, he choked me beyond a point that was okay, and yet she doesn't think it's possible that he killed her.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where I feel like for sure he still has a mental hold on her in some way. Because from everything that we have seen, I would say he's fully capable of doing anything horrible.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's all my notes that I have.
There's like not much else to say. I mean,
yeah. So
they got away with whatever they got away with.
And hopefully not, because, okay, so I guess we haven't. So update, Aaron was actually I think Chris actually ended up going to jail for some other offense, like a DUI or something.
Yeah.
And Aaron was in a motorcycle accident and is currently paralyzed from the waist down.
Yeah.
Which in normal circumstances I would feel bad, but I'm not sure I do here. So
well, it's just strange because like he has kids and stuff now too. So
yeah, him and Hannah had a baby.
I'm pretty sure he has a girl as well. So I don't know, like how can you live knowing that could have been your daughter or your mom, or
it's like, I wouldn't let my daughter hang out with anybody like me.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I looked at on social media that I could see, it does seem like he has a lot of friends and people that
supportive and
support
still liked being around him and whatnot. And
right. So, I mean, maybe I'm just getting a skewed view of this dude, but I don't think I am. But you cannot deny, anyone that listens to this, even the most skeptical person who thinks that we always want to speculate about something going wrong hinky when it shouldn't, when it's really just obviously an accident or whatever. Right. You have to admit that the behavior of those three people that Lauren was with is too suspicious for it to have been such an innocent little accident.
Right.
You can't deny it.
Yeah.
So, as cruel as it might sound, those people, whatever, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say whatever they've got coming to them is coming to them. But, anyway, now, so we sort of spoke on it, but the private investigator actually began a podcast. So if you want to really like hone in on this one case and listen to future updates that they have, it's Without Warning, the Lauren Agee case. Yeah. And you can listen to it on any place that you listen to podcasts, that you listen to us. So it's definitely interesting to hear, from a perspective of somebody that's investigating the case, since we don't really have a ton of files from the police investigation.
Exactly.
And clearly something went wrong, and hopefully, from what I understand, from what I've heard, it seems like the attention that's getting brought to this case is making more people speak to this private investigator, and every day she's getting more and more people coming forward with information. And I just feel like it's one of those situations, just like Tara Grinstead, where these people have spoken to somebody. They've at least they have spoken to each other, their own creepy selves, but they seem to have it locked down pretty tight that they don't want to talk much. But they've spoken to somebody out there. One night they got a little too drunk or something and let it slip a little something to somebody, and with enough attention, I believe those people will come forward, and I hope they are. And so hopefully they aren't going to have gotten away with this, but hopefully
maybe they'll get I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds to me like if they aren't going to get...
You're gonna get Sarah Michelle Gellar.
If they're not going to get snatched up by the actual U.S. legal system, then it seems like maybe they're getting Final Destination right now.
Ooh, yeah.
Perhaps.
Okay.
So,
a little...
yeah.
A little... mixture of Freddie Prinze Jr. and Devin Sawa.
It's I Know What You Did Last Final Destination.
Yeah, your final last summer.
Okay.
Okay, this is not funny.
No, it isn't funny, but, we are not a super duper, super serious podcast. We have to make light of some of this stuff because otherwise we're going to be depressed, as you can get. So, we're not being insensitive here because we are 100% down for justice to be served here in this situation. So anyway, okay.
We should make a movie called Your Final Summer Destination and base it off this, but twist with like an M. Night Shyamalan
Oh my goodness.
twist.
You should write it. There you go.
Yeah.
There you
I'm going to write it. It's going to be awesome.
You'll be rich.
Okay.
Okay. So thanks, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts on this case. So definitely let us know.
Yes.
I'll post some pictures that we have of this case. Please, if you have listened to this episode and you feel like, I love these girls, go give us a review, and a positive one, please. It helps so much if you do listen. And I know you're like, I don't want to take the time to do it, but it'll take 5 seconds. Please do it. Just go give us a review. It'll help us reach new listeners. I know you're thinking like, how could anybody give you a bad review? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. How can you give 2 endearing
it happens.
ladies a 1 star? I'm not sure. You're evil. That's how.
That's rude. I mean, if you don't like us, you don't like us.
Right. Okay. So that's it for today, everybody. We're going to take a little true crime break next week. So
it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. But you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared.
Yeah.
I can't sleep.
You're going to want to sleep with the nightlight on.
Yeah. So anyway, we love you. You're the greatest. Just let us know we're the greatest.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll stop asking. And we'll talk
right.
to you next week.
Have a creepy week, y'all.
Creep it real, friends.
Bye.